baseball, not always the best team wins, right? You got to still go out there and get it done.
Hey, welcome in everyone. This is Youth Baseball Midwest, powered by Prime Sports Midwest. My name's Dave Wiggins. I'm filling in for Brian French today as your host of the show. Today, and he seems to be a recurring guest nowadays, we have Diego Solares talking Illinois side baseball. Diego, how we doing today?
Good, man. It's that. I mean, even though the weather right now isn't super ideal, it is getting closer to that time of year where baseball is being played at the high school level, so it's always exciting.
It absolutely is. Yeah, we're at Principia today. We will be inside our gymnasium. It's just too wet to get outside, so we'll make do with what we can indoors, as I'm sure a lot of other high school programs will as well. Except for the ones that have turf, they may be outside today, braving. Not only is it wet, it's kind of chilly, and it's only getting
It's
colder.
cold. Yeah, it's a little cold.
Yeah, so bring your hoodies, boys, if you're going outside. Diego, you recently have dropped your top 10 large school in Illinois rankings. Am I correct in saying that?
Top 15, actually.
Top 15.
Top
Okay.
15. Yeah,
Awesome.
so
And
last year we did 10 only because like the area that I actually like wanted to rank was smaller. Um, I don't feel super great ranking high school teams that I know I'm not going to see per se at one point or another, or I have seen at one point or another, or I have seen players from. So last year, like we kind of took the area, like the area of the state that the teams were actually ranked in and shrunk it. And this year it's kind of pushed upward more to the Peoria area. Just because like we ran a showcase in Peoria this winter. Saw a bunch of players from these high schools. Saw a lot of them in summer, and then we'll see these teams specifically in the spring. So for that reason, like the larger schools went from 10 to 15, and it will include more Central Illinois teams than it did last year.
all right, that's good to know. Um, how do you designate between large and small school when you're doing your rankings? Where's the cutoff?
Yeah, 3A and 4A in Illinois is large school, and 1A and 2A is small school.
Okay.
That's how they do the state championship. So like the 3A and 4A go together on the same weekend, and the 1A and 2A go together on the same weekend at different locations. So that's how I just do it, large and small that way.
All right, makes sense. So, folks, we will be discussing the 3A and 4A schools today, given they're in Diego's large school rankings. Let's get right to it. Let's go 15 on up. Um,
Okay,
I think we have time for that. We can get through
sure.
it all. Excellent.
Yeah, so 15 is Mascuda, 3A school down here in the Metro East area. Historically one of the better 3A schools down here. They play in the Mississippi Valley Conference. They're coached by Don Eddy, who's one of the best coaches in the area, one of the most successful coaches in the area. Um, this is going to be a little bit of, there's just a lot of question marks behind Mascuda's team this year. They graduated a bunch from a team 2 years ago that was a win away from state. And even last year, like a lot of their better players, most notably Austin Musso, who's at Arizona State right now, they're gone. So they do bring back some key pieces like Nolan Liebert is a senior going to Olivet Nazarene, the two-way guy for them that hit it at the top of the lineup and was their second best arm last year. Nathan Walker's headed to Swig. Carson Mole's going to Rend Lake. Our two other seniors there. Um, I would think their number one and number two on the mound will be Nolan Liebert and then Darren Klein, the junior, who was excellent as a freshman and kind of hit a little bit of a sophomore slump last year. So if he can bounce back to kind of be what he was early on in his career, they'll have a pretty good 1-2 punch. So they're 15. Like obviously being number 15, it's like there were several other schools that could have easily slotted into that conversation. Um, there's just some question marks for me that we're a little hesitant to bump them up even higher. Number 14 is another school that I'm going to be very interested to see. And obviously, Dave, feel free to jump in here whenever. Um, is Mount Zion. So last year, this was as high up as our rankings would go. Mount Zion is just like 45 minutes probably away from Champaign, in the
Hmm.
Decatur area. And they were really good last year. Like they were old, they were talented. They had one of the better players in the area, and Sam Driscoll, who's at Lindenwood now, a two-way guy, left-handed pitcher that was their number one. They're going to be young this year. Like they're talented, but they're young. Connor Fox, the junior, who threw a good amount for them last year as a sophomore, is a mid to upper 80s arm that can really spin a breaking ball. Like he'll be their number one. I don't really know what it looks like after that on the mound. It's like part of the reason why they're towards the bottom half of the rankings. They have several other juniors that could step into key roles for them, but just haven't done it yet. They have a couple
Sure.
sophomores too. It's a pretty low senior class from like an actual player standpoint. Not that they're not talented, they just don't have a lot of seniors. So there's just some question marks there. It's a new coach too, first year coach for them. So like a program that's had success, but there's just a lot of question marks. It's kind of the theme there between number 14 and number 15.
That the new coach, was he there as an assistant or a JV
That
coach?
I don't know.
Okay.
That I don't know. I know they have a handful of new assistants, like guys that were not a part of the program last year. So I would be inclined to say that no, he was not around the program last year.
Right.
But I'm not. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Yeah. Let's move into 13.
So 13 is another Apollo Conference team, which is the same conference as Mount Zion and Effingham. It's probably the best conference in the Central Illinois area outside of Peoria, and that's Muhammad Seymour. They're a team that in the last 4 years they've won 109 games. They're 109-33 in the last 4 years. They
Wow.
kind of came on the map with Blake Wolters when he started throwing 100 miles an hour and was a second round draft pick by the Royals a couple years ago. Um, but other than him, like I don't know what's going on in that part of the state. They pump out arms left and right. Like they've got some real power on the mound. Max Young, all conference senior last year, is head to Swick. I mean, I saw him in the summer. He came to one of our events and he was playing catch in the upper 80s with kind of a banger breaking ball and a long, athletic, loose frame that I mean, if he's running it into 91, 92 territory, that wouldn't surprise me at all. Their number two is Austin Wyke, who's another senior headed to Spoon River that's mid to upper 80s, throws two pitches for strikes. They have a sophomore that's mid to upper 80s in Bradley Jones. Um, I think position player wise, there's a little bit of question marks there with Muhammad Seymour. Like they were pretty old last year positionally, and they graduated a lot of guys that ended up going to play college baseball in their 25 class. So like they're definitely going to have to rely on some sophomores to fill in and some juniors that like didn't get to play a whole lot last year, at least regularly. But when you win 109 games over a 4 win or a 4 year span, like you get the benefit of the doubt, right? And that also
Absolutely.
goes for number 12, Champaign Central. So their coach, John Staub, has been there for 23 years and he's got 506 wins. They have not, they have won 20 plus games every year since 2014. Like I wasn't even in high school in 2014. So like you can go ahead and just you can lock them in for 20 wins every year. They went to a super sectional last year. They lost a triad, so they were one game away from state. Um, I'll just be honest, like am not totally 100% familiar with a lot of their roster. With that being said, like you have a coach who's been there forever. They're always good. They have one of the more physical, like power arms in the state's senior class in Trey Cole, who is a big physical right hander, super athletic. Like His basketball highlight reel is him jumping out the gym. He was up to 95 this winter. Like he's definitely going to be a guy that multiple, if not like more than half of the Major League Baseball teams will go out to see this spring. So like it's a true power arm. They have a good catcher in John Timmons. And then they have two really talented sophomores that both played varsity ball last year in Ryan Pipkins and Nick Braltz. So guys that were a part of a team that went 26-13 and made it to a super sectional. Um, so like Champaign Central and Muhammad Seymour at 12 and 13 are two teams that are definitely like getting the benefit of the doubt being on this list and being ahead of some of the teams behind them because of the success they've had.
Sure. Trey Cole, where's he headed next year?
He's committed to Wright State. So obviously like a power major, right? Like Wright State's good
Sure.
every year. They always beat
Yeah.
up on Power Four schools. And I'll be honest, since I've been doing this in the state of Illinois, I'm pretty sure like I can count on one hand how many high school kids Wright State has committed from our state, which just tells me that he has to be good. Like he's got to be good.
Right. No, without a doubt. Yeah, and we're breezing through kind of 15 up to 10 as we, for a lot of people listening, probably not many familiar with the Central Illinois area as much as they are the Metro East area. So although we don't have a ton of players to necessarily name, just knowing the history of the programs, knowing the winning culture that they have, that's a big reason why they're up in those rankings at all. Is kind of what it sounds like.
Yeah, a lot of it, and like even as we continue to work up the list, like a lot of it is the ability to win and the track record of winning for me. Like there have been teams that I've looked at and been like, man, that team's really good, right? And like their players are really good, they're super talented, and then they finish the year 18 and 14 or
Mm-hmm.
17 and 15. And it's like, okay, something feels off there, right? Like there's something that's going on. A team with that much talent shouldn't be winning that many games. And then you look at a team like Edwardsville where like you know, even in years where they're not super talented, right from the jump they're going to win 25 to 28 games because you pencil them in for it every year. Like I think when you're doing rankings, that stuff matters. And a lot of it has to do with the coach, right? And like the system that they want to play and the culture and the standard and like how that guy knows how to win and he's been there before. And that means a lot to me from a rankings perspective because I want to be able to look back at the end of the year and be like, hey, we were right about that. Like we were right about having so and so at number 7, right? And we were right about having so and so at number 14, even though maybe they have a better roster than the team at number 7.
Yeah, well, because as it doesn't take a bunch of premier or frontline players to win high school baseball games, right? It takes complete players. It takes a team mindset. The kid who's 78 to 80, but he might be able to spin a good breaking ball and has a good changeup. He could go up and beat anybody. And that's what we always have to kind of keep into perspective, even though there's rosters that aren't loaded with, quote unquote talented or showcase proven players, they can still be very successful as well. So that's a good point.
For sure. For sure. Um, so kind of as we keep moving up here, like number 11 is Belleville West. So obviously a Metro East team. Um, they kind of fit that mold of like the scrappy blue collar, grindery mindset, like just wear you out. They didn't have a super great record last year. I think they went 18 and 14. But like if you look at their schedule, one, it was tough. Like naturally, when you play in the Southwestern Conference, like you're going to play a tough schedule. But two, like they had a ton of good wins, even though they went 18 and 14. Like they beat Edwardsville at Edwardsville. They beat O'Fallon at O'Fallon. They beat Alton last year, who was really good. They like so. They also beat Chatham Glenwood, who's on this list and is perennially one of the best teams in the state. Like and they bring back a lot of guys from that group who were a part of that team, like understood what it takes to win games like that against teams like that. So I'm pretty high on them. Like them being at number 11 means that I have them third in the Southwestern Conference between or behind O'Fallon and Edwardsville. Um, They have a really good catcher in Braden Forney. They bring back an all conference arm in Chase Benty, who is basically the textbook definition of that soft tossing lefty you were talking about a couple minutes ago. Like he throws 78 to 80 miles an hour, 4 pitches, first strikes, nothing moves the same direction. Um, they have a center fielder, Parker Wells, that I really like. They have one of the better sophomores in the area in Wyatt Robinson, who I really like, and their coach has been there forever, and he does a good job. So they're at number 11. Morton is kind of the opposite of that. So they have a first year coach in Ryan Lindley, who like is taking over for Jesse Crawford, who was at Morton forever and did a really good job. And they have a ton of talent, like a
Yeah, they
ton
do.
of talent. But I need to see them do it. You know what I mean? Like that's the reason why they're at 10 and they're not higher on this list, because it's just how are they going to do under a new head coach on a team that went 20-15 last year with several guys that maybe didn't play as much last year that are now going to have to play everyday roles, right? But from a talent perspective, they are definitely capable of being much higher on this list. And they are also going to play basically all like half of the teams on our rankings are on their schedule. So they're not like they're going to be battle tested once playoff time rolls around. Their conference is really good. So I'll be really interested to see what this Morton team looks like because they have several arms too that like from like in a showcase workout standpoint look really really good. It's just can they translate that to a gameplay scenario? And if they can, then like this team seriously could make a run to state. They're 3A playing out of Central Illinois. It's maybe the team I'm most interested to see how they play this year. Right above them is Chatham Glenwood. They're at number 9.
Real quick.
Maybe like
Sorry,
go ahead.
just wanted to speak on Morton. Coach Crawford's son's a senior at Morton, and that's interesting that he chose to step down this year for what's his son's first name? It always escapes
Cam.
me. Cam, yeah.
Cam.
Interesting that he chose to step down for Cam's senior year. Maybe he wanted to watch more as a dad or as a fan. Cam's headed to Jeffco. Cam's a great two-way player. I just thought that was interesting that he chose this year to
Sure.
kind of take a step back.
Yeah, and I don't know what the reasonings are.
Yeah,
His kid's a really good player, and he's
yeah,
probably like one of their better guys. Like he'll swing in the middle of the lineup. He's physical. He'll pitch for them too. Like really good bullpen arm. That team interests me a lot, a lot. Like I'll be
yeah.
real. I'm definitely going to make sure I see them, like myself, and then follow them closely throughout the year.
And
Um,
those boys have played a lot of ball together throughout the years
oh yeah,
as the Morton
yeah,
Little Potters. They play in the
yeah.
summer together. Yeah, that's a tight knit group that is now all
They do
seniors.
it. They run it very similarly to like how Willard does in
Yep.
Missouri, like how you guys always talk about like the Willard Tigers and start from your 5, and like if you go to Morton, everyone's wearing a Morton Potters hat, and like they're like the games. I went to a game, Washington at Morton a couple years ago. There's like 1,500 people there. Like it's
You
it's
talk
a
about
pretty
a
big
rivalry.
deal.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Washington Morton. Yeah, there will be blood.
Yeah, yeah. Moving up, like Glenwood's at number 9. Um, if you want to talk about a program that has produced like history in this whole state of Illinois, Chatham has to be up there. Like you're talking Jason Worth, you're talking Reed Detmers, you're talking about the Maton brothers, Parker Detmers. Last year, Cameron Appenzeller, who's now at Tennessee. Like they have dudes after dudes after dudes coming out of there. They're always good. This is a team that, like, seriously, if you told me that they were bringing in 25 brand new players, I would still rank them probably in the top 10 because no matter what, they're going to win. They're going to win 25 games every year. Just bank on it. Bank on it. They have some talent. They did lose a lot from last year, like losing Appenzeller from what he was doing on the mound, also at the plate. Like he was one of their better hitters. Like that's going to hurt. Thankfully for them, Dylan Huff is back,
Oh yeah,
who's a senior. senior headed to Toledo. Like he'll be upper eights to low nines with a good breaking ball. He hit 6 homers last year, hit 353. Like he's going to be their best guy. They have a lot of seniors that are going to play college baseball. Colton Knadler is their catcher. He's also their starting quarterback and is like an all-state quarterback that definitely could have gone to play football somewhere, but wants to play baseball. He's going to Lincoln Land. He's back. So you return your starting catcher. You return both middle infielders in Michael Lucas and Dalton Nunes. Grady Mueller hit 457 for them in 100 at-bats last year. He's going to play football at North Central College, which is one of the best Division III schools in football in the country. But he also like could have played college baseball if he wanted to. And they always have guys that like come out of nowhere and are really good players. So I would bank on them being again one of the better teams in the Springfield area. Above them is East Peoria, which is obviously located in the Peoria area. I would say on this list, East Peoria is the most top-heavy roster of the group. At least of the names that I'm familiar with. Like they are going to rely very heavily on a core group of 4 or 5 seniors. The good thing for them is their best arm is going to be the best arm in any game they play, like that he pitches in RJ Duncan, who's a senior headed to Illinois State. Low nines with a really, really good changeup and can spin a breaking ball for strikes. Competitive dude. Like he'll probably pitch at 89, 92, like bump a 3 or 4. It's also like a legit two-way. He hit over 450 last year for them. So like they will have the advantage in any game he's on the mound. Like game 1 of conference sets, they'll have the best arm. And then like as you work down the list, like they have a really good shortstop in Jackson Aarons, who's going to Kirkwood. They have a physical corner infielder, Augie Loans, who's going to Illinois Central Junior College. Jordan Marsh is another arm that threw for them last year. But really, other than those guys, at least from where I sit and like kind of some people I've picked their brain on in Central Illinois, it's a lot of unknown, right? So like they went 27-9 last year, I believe, and bring back like that core group of seniors. If they had a little bit more depth, I would have been comfortable kind of shoving them up this list because of what their senior class is. But, you know, you do have to play 9 guys on the field at one time. And baseball, like football and basketball, it gets a little harder to be really, really good if you have to rely on 3 to 4 players every single day in a game that it's hard to be consistent, right? So I'm curious to see what they'll look like, but having that senior heavy star power definitely helps them. At 7 is Waterloo, which is a program we've talked about plenty on this podcast. Like, I really think they will challenge a team we'll talk about in a second as the best team in the Mississippi Valley Conference and the best team in the area. Conrad Lindhorst, their senior arm, is back. Trey Conrad, the catcher that can also pitch, is back. He was an all-conference selection last year. Cannon Richard, Tanner Chamberlain, Abner Christian, Chase Zimmerman, a new head coach. It's kind of an interesting dynamic, though, because like Garrett Schlecht, who was he was a second or a third round pick out of Waterloo like 10 years ago, played for the Cubs and is now back coaching. He actually coached them last year as their main assistant, and he coached third base. So their head coach was there forever. I'm blanking on his name right now, and it's so bad that I am because he won so many games. He's a Hall of Famer. But so he kind of let Garrett take the reins of the program a little bit from what I saw last year. Like he was coaching third. He was doing his thing. So it is a first-year head coach, but he has a lot of familiarity with the program and like the players that are coming back. So I would expect them to just kind of pick right up where they left off last year. And they were good last year. Like they challenged Triad a bunch, Muscuda a bunch. Like I'm very intrigued by Waterloo this year, and I think this could be the year where they really kind of like make some noise in 3A.
Yeah, now obviously we'd have talked extensively about their standout players, and having a former big leaguer come in and essentially be the new head coach. That's awesome, but the fact that he was there last year, he was coaching third. He was almost kind of not being groomed, but he was being led into more of that lead role by the by the incumbent. That's big, and that's kind of why I asked you a couple schools ago if that new coach had been involved with the program before, if he was new, because I think it does. I think it means something to understand who your players are, know your players, and have familiarity with them. It's much harder to just jump into a program where you don't know any of the kids. You might know maybe one or two from certain interactions, but just getting the players to buy into what you want your program philosophy to be. Are you carrying over what it has been with the current head coach, or are you trying to change it? There's just a lot of unknown there. No, whether you played in the big leagues or not, right? But I think it's great that Coach Slechte essentially got to coach them last year and is now able to kind of fully take over the reins there. So that was a good point.
Yeah, it's just a consistency thing, right? Like you can understand your guys, you know what you have, you know who can do well and in what situations. Like you're not going in blind. And
Yeah.
obviously, like you still have the like all the first year coaches, they still have the winter workouts and the practices and stuff, but that doesn't compare to actually being around them in a game, in a competitive setting, in a playoff game. Like those things matter, right? So that is honestly part of the reason why I felt comfortable putting them at 7. Like they're above some pretty good teams, especially they are above some pretty good teams within their respective classification. Like East Peoria's 3A, Glenwood's 3A, Morton's 3A. So like having them above those 3A teams in particular, I don't know if that would be the case if it was a new coach that was coming fresh into the program, um, from an outsider's point of view. So um, up at 6 is Sacred Heart Griffin. So they're kind of a unique case because they won. It's a private school in Springfield. They won the 2A state championship, so they jump up in class to 3A here, and basically bring back their whole team, except for they'll be without their best player from last year, who is Andy Antonacci, who, if you watch the game, the Italy USA game, it's the younger brother of Italy's shortstop, Sam Antonacci. Power arm, like upper eights, low nines. I saw him up to 94 last spring. He could really hit too. So, like, that's a big loss. But outside from him, like, they bring back their shortstop and Carson Butler, who can also catch for them if they need him to. They bring back Ty Springer, who's a dynamic, highly athletic center fielder. Drew Ward is a two-way guy that threw a bunch for them last year. He's back. Their number 2, Will Pennell, who's going to Lincoln Land. He's back. I would assume he will step in and be the number 1 for them this coming season. They bring back Austin Rutter, who's a left-handed hitting second baseman / shortstop that had a great sophomore year. And Mikey Gresh, who's a physical right-handed hitter, football player, was served a good amount of the year as their everyday catcher. He's back too. And that's a program that's been really good. Like they've been doing it for the last couple of years. It's just the jump up in class will be a new challenge for them from a playoff standpoint. But this is a ranking, one, based on, I'll just be honest, respect. Like they won a state title last year in a really tough
Yeah.
classification. And 2, not only did they win a state title, they are bringing back a large majority of their team from that group. So I'm pretty confident they're going to be really good again this year. Right
Yeah.
above them is Dunlap, who is the highest ranked Central Illinois team, a 3A school out of the Peoria area. Um, I'll be honest, like I think they're absolutely loaded. They lost, from my understanding, and a player that I had seen play before in Davis Weeks, two-way guy who's at Michigan State now. He was like the all everything player last year. But really, other than him and a couple other guys, like they bring back a good group of players. Like Landon Gray was like their main bullpen arm last year. He's going to be asked to step into a more starter bulk role. 37 innings last year, 42 punchies, 14 walks, had a 0.38 ERA. They bring back an up the middle defender in Simon Malcolm, who hit 365. Their starting quarterback, Truman Tyra, is a guy that's going to throw out of the pen for them. And apparently, like, it is a super live, athletic power arm. Another guy that's going to step up on the mound and also at the plate is Eli Mechanicu, who's a junior. He came to our Peoria event at the end of the winter this year. It's 86, 88, athletic, strikes, can spin a breaking ball, and a really physical right-handed bat that I would expect to hit in the middle of that lineup. And then after him, they've got these two juniors named Brett Alkire and Carter Lippens, who are upper 80s to low 90s. Now more thrower than pitcher on that side, but two highly talented power arms that deepen this pitching staff. Jake Weeks is the younger brother of Davis Weeks. He's a left-handed hitter that's going to play in their lineup. And honestly, like, the big X factor is a sophomore named Ryder Renette, who hit 333 last year as a freshman, played every day for them, is going to be their shortstop, and is one of the best left-handed bats, regardless of class, like from a polish and bat to ball standpoint, in the Peoria area. So I just think this team is absolutely loaded. Like, I kind of went like picked several people's brain in the area, and that's the consensus that I got. And then having kind of putting together some past knowledge with some recent knowledge of players I've seen, I would expect them to be the best team in Peoria this year.
Yeah, you mentioned a good deal of left-handed bats in that lineup too, and I don't know what it is about a left-handed bat, but they're just it looks prettier to me. Like no one loves a great left-handed hitter more than me. I like the way it looks. I like that they're closer to home plate. Usually the
Sure.
first time's just a hair shorter, but just having dynamic lefty bats in the lineup is huge. And then obviously having big, strong, athletic dudes who can run it up into the 90s. And, it sounds like maybe pitching is something where they may need to take a little bit of a step forward and actually controlling and commanding the baseball. But just, the intimidation factor alone of having the velocity, it's just not a fun day when you got to go to the park and you got to see a dude who might spray it a little bit, who could hit you with a 92-mile-an-hour heater. That alone can be a little bit much for for some hitters. But it just sounds, it sounds like showcase wise, they may have certain players that some of these other schools don't have, or may have a collection of them, which leads them to having that higher ranking where you hope they can put it all together in a game on the field in a competitive setting.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is like when you take a team that has highly talented players that maybe are a little raw in one area or the other, right? One, if that team has a history of or a recent record of winning, that matters to me. So they
Yeah,
went 28-8 last year, and they came one lot like they played in their sectional semifinal. So they won a regional last year and went 28-8. And two, part of me is always like, okay, if I have a guy who's upper eights to low 90s and maybe sprays it a little bit, and that guy just needs to get in game reps to figure some things out, right? Like, you can do as many bullpens as you want, okay? And you can be super good in your bullpens. But if you get on the mound and like you can't put it in the zone, like, a lot of the times it's just a repetitions thing. Like, how many times can I get on the mound in a competitive setting when my heart rate goes up, I get sped up a little bit? Like, you just have to do that to be able to do it, right? And
yeah,
like, you have a guy who's talented and gets on the slope a lot, and that clicks, like, now they really have something other teams around them don't have, right? Like, you've got multiple highly talented arms that if they start to be in the strike zone, it could potentially take this team to a whole new level, right? So I think that's
for
part of
sure.
the reason why I'm pretty high on them. Now they will play a tough schedule. They will definitely, like, when conference play rolls around, they're going to face Washington. They're going to face Morton. They're going to face Metamora. They're going to face East Peoria. Like, it's no joke. So we're going to find out right away, like, how good Dunlap actually is. But I'm pretty bullish on this team as a whole.
And where are they? Are they at 4? Is that where we're at, or are we at 5?
They're at 5, so I guess we keep moving up. This will be quick. We've got Triad at 4, O'Fallon at 3, Edwardsville at 2. We've talked about those teams a bunch, right?
Yeah.
Triad is the highest ranked 3A team on this list. I think when you go 37-5 and have a history of winning and have a ton of talent in your program, you've earned that, right? O'Fallon is number 3. Edwardsville is number 2. They could honestly, I wish it could be 2A and like 2B because they're very similar. I just think Edwardsville has a little bit more, and I also think that they have a better track record of doing it. Their head coach is closing in on 900 wins and is like widely regarded as probably the best coach in the state. So I just lean towards the Tigers in that regard. And then here is like maybe the most interesting wrinkle of having like expanding the coverage area and expanding like where the rankings are is that includes Normal Community, who is the number 1 team on this list. Like they went to the 4A state last year. They finished 3rd. I mean, this roster is unbelievably good, like actually unbelievably good. Their 2 best arms are Gavin Schwartz and Josh Jones. Gavin's going to Indiana. Josh Jones is going to Indiana State. 2 physical right-handers. Both are low 90s in game, like not just bullpen low 90s, like 90, 93, bumping a 4 or 5 in game. Gavin Schwartz last year as the ace of a team that finished 3rd in the highest class in the state, 96 punchies in 70 innings. So a guy that's done it before.
Wow,
Look
man.
at their position players. Look at their position players. Gavin Michaels is a plus runner that can play shortstop and center field. He's going to Cincinnati. Max Heineman can catch or play first base. He hit 471 last year. He's going to Illinois, Chicago. Drew Stevens can also catch and or play first base, so they just rotate those guys through to keep them fresh. He's going to Valparaiso and had an OPS over 1,200 last year. So 2 Division I catchers, a Division I shortstop. They've got arms for days. Like Landon Corbin is a right-hander going to Division III Augustana. Kind of fits that mold of just a strike thrower, 3-pitch guy. Not a ton of velo. Like he'll be 83, 85 and fill up the strike zone. 39 innings last year, 56 punchies, a 0.71 ERA. There's more guys. There's more guys. Like Carter Harris going to Olivet Nazarene. Lucas Beatty is a highly talented physical junior that will be in that lineup. He was the only sophomore on their team last year that was on varsity and saw regular playing time. So he's been there. He's got the experience. Like he didn't have a great sophomore year, but just getting the at bats and like being a part of the state run, obviously to me has a ton of value. Like they're loaded. This is like an Edwardsville level roster when they were winning state every year. That's how good Normal Community is, and I would expect them to stay number 1, like basically for 95% of the year.
Hey, you mentioned Schwartz threw 70 innings last spring. Did I hear that right?
96 punchies in 70 innings. Yeah.
96 punches is sick. 70 innings is insane.
That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot.
I don't think I've seen a 70 inning season from a Missouri high school arm. I could be wrong. I feel like
we had an arm, Josh McDevitt. He's the Saturday guy at Mizzou now. When Effingham went to state a couple years ago, he threw like 80 innings.
Wow.
It's a lot. And it's a lot of innings. It's a lot of innings.
And I know, I mean, Schwartz is highly physical and he's got great stuff. You obviously have to make sure that you are, if you're Mr. Schwartz, you're really taking care of your arm and you're taking your summer innings into account as well. But that's impressive to throw 70 innings as a high school junior, nonetheless. As you talked about Max Heineman, I do need to tell a small story about Mr. Heineman. We played against his team, the B&BA Renegades, when he was 12 years old, and that weekend he had driven 5 home runs out of the park at 12, and we were playing them in a semifinal game. And at 12U, we actually chose to intentionally walk Mr. Heineman because we didn't want him to beat us. And
That's
we,
awesome.
people could feel some type of way about it, but we did. We chose to intentionally walk Max, and we ended up winning the game because we didn't let him beat us. But my
That's
goodness,
good
was he
coaching,
impressive?
Coach Wiggins. That's good
Yeah.
coaching.
Well, his
That's
dad was coaching on the other side. He did not like my decision, which I understand. He wanted to see his kid win the game. Man, he
yeah.
was such a great player from the time that I knew him as a 12-year-old, and now seeing him as a full grown man headed to UIC. It's cool. It's really cool for me to get to see a lot of these 26s and 27s that I was around when they were 11 and 12 years old. Going off to playing as juniors and seniors in high school and going off to these cool institutions. But I just figured that when you said his name, that rang a bell. I'm like, oh, I got a story about Max.
Yeah. He's a really good player.
um,
So it worked out okay. I'm sure that wasn't I'm sure that wasn't the only time that Max Heineman's been intentionally walked. Maybe you
might
were
have
the
been the
first.
first. Might have been the
Maybe you were the
first. The way
first. Yeah.
the reaction I got from the other side, I think it might have been the first.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
um, you know, you do not, when you're making these rankings, you do not extend into the Chicagoland area. Is that correct?
Yeah,
And
that's correct.
okay,
It's just there's just no way that like we would be again like being able to physically see the teams like
right,
matters to me a lot. Um,
yeah,
there's no way we could on a consistent basis go up to Chicago and watch like the Mount Carmels or the St. Lawrences or the Brother Rices,
sure.
McHenrys, like your traditional Illinois powerhouses. So this just goes to anybody below Peoria, basically.
Yeah, well, I feel like on this list, there are very few private schools. And I think that's kind of the big distinction between the Chicagoland area and outside of Chicago is when you were naming those Chicago area schools, you named a fair deal of private schools there. I think that's just kind of an interesting dynamic with Illinois in general, with the amount of private schools that are in Chicago versus kind of the public school dominance that you're seeing from other parts of the state.
Yeah, the really like the only private school on this list is Sacred Heart Griffin, and they were
Right.
2A last year. Um, there's not really a ton of prominent private schools in baseball at least, um,
Yeah.
outside of the Chicagoland area. Like Father McGivney, right? Obviously, yes, they're one.
Sure.
Um, Sacred Heart Griffin is like the prominent one in Springfield. There, to my knowledge, like there's not really one in Central Illinois.
It would
And
be
then
U
like
High, like right on
it
the
would be U
campus of
High.
Illinois
Yeah,
State.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. U High, yep. And then like as you start to creep up to Chicago, you get your Ottawa Marquettes, and then obviously when you're in the city, it's Chicago Catholic League, left, right, center. Like that's where most
Yeah.
of them are. Um, there's just not really a ton of them around here.
Yeah. It's just interesting. Um, what do we have to expect from you in the upcoming weeks from Scout Connect and your are we going to get a small school rankings coming out soon? What's on the docket?
Yeah, we'll do the small school probably. As you might imagine, these kind of take a while.
Yes.
So
Yes.
probably tomorrow, if not Friday. And then we will kick off next week with Missouri, a top 15 St. Louis area slash like Jackson, Missouri schools. Um, before the season starts. So that's kind of what's on the docket. I'm excited about the small school Illinois ones. Those are always my favorite to do, because I just like the smaller schools more, honestly. The community and those guys eat it up. And not saying the larger schools don't, right? There's just more going on.
Yeah.
There are some people in Freeburg that would die for Freeburg baseball. And I think that's really cool. So I'm excited to
Oh,
do that,
it
kind
might
of
be
sit
worth
down and
dying
really
for
look at it.
this. It
Yeah,
might be
yeah, with
worth
how
dying
good
for
they
this
are. Yeah,
one. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, hey man, thank you so much. This was kind of a shotgun style approach here. We were on a time limit, but just the knowledge that you exude about the Illinois area schools and the talent that's in that area. It's unrivaled. And, we thank you for your time and your knowledge.
Appreciate it. I thank you for your time for stepping in for my guy, Brian. Honestly, the cool thing from like a youth baseball Midwest standpoint is like, they're going to be out live streaming a lot of the games
Yes,
between schools on this list. Like I know they've got an Edwardsville O'Fallon on the list. There's a Belleville West, Belleville East game on the schedule. St. Anthony, who's a small school that will be ranked, is traveling to Father McGivney. That's on the schedule. So like being able to bring a production to see these teams in action is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, we did a rivalry show for kind of St. Louis area schools last week. If you were to just kind of jog your memory or think of something right off the top of your head, what would you say is the biggest rivalry you know of outside of Chicago, but like two Illinois area schools where it's pretty intense?
The Central Illinois schools really get after each other, like the Washington and the Mortons and the Dunlaps and the Dunlaps and the East Peorias, like that whole like collective group, like they really, really get after each other. It's probably like crossing a line, honestly, where they're at from a rivalry standpoint. We don't really have something like that down here. Obviously, like the natural one is Edwardsville O'Fallon, but I wouldn't really call that like it's a rivalry in the sense that they're competing against each other every year, and it's always typically those two teams. But like all those kids play summer ball together and like play travel ball together and work out together and train together. If you had to ask me like what's the rivalry down here that like they actually don't like each other, I think there's no love lost between Triad and Mascuda. Like they meet up twice a year. And last year, like Triad bounced them in the sectional championship game, and there were some things going on after the game that were a little chippy and whatnot. I can really tell those guys don't like each other. So that's like the biggest rivalry, quote unquote. Belleville West, Belleville East is a good one too. Obviously crosstown rivals. But if you're talking about like off the top of my head, I would probably point towards the Central Illinois schools. Because I've heard some things and I've seen some things, and they really get after each other.
Oh, we need to get Brian and crew out to Central Illinois. Then that's what it sounds like. They're going to open with Marshfield Willard down in Springfield. They could travel a little bit further east up into Peoria. It's not that bad of a trip.
It's only 2 hours from here. Yeah,
man, it's not bad at all. Hey, man, once again, really appreciate you. We will have you on soon, obviously. Can't wait to see your small school Illinois rankings and also your Missouri rankings, and it'll be fun to compare them with Kevin's Missouri rankings. That's always kind of fun to do, as you're two both very respected here in our area.
Yeah, and the YBM ones too. And the coaching poll.
That's right.
There's so many. Like, it's just it's cool to see like the publications or whatever you want to call them, like put their rankings out and how people think of one team and how people view another team and who's where and whatnot. So, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, our YBM rankings will drop soon as well. Thank you for plugging that, picking me up there. All right. Well, hey, buddy, we will see you later. Once again, thank you. For everybody, I'm Dave Wiggins. I'm filling in for Brian. Probably did about half as well as he would have. But this is YBMcast Baseball Talk. We will see you next time.